Nice home bags. Very nice. Like this for Thursday. Yeah, that will be nice. Thursday. Shri Hari. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhanatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. After the brain being pounded by the heavy duty Avantara Bhashya yesterday, now we can look forward to some light banter between Mrityu and little Nachiketa. So that is how it will proceed. Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vaivasvataya Mrityave
Vaivasvataya Mrityave
Brahma Vidyacharyaya
Brahma Vidyacharya
Nachiketa Secha.
Nachiketa Secha.
A little tippani means a note. The technical term, we have Bhashya, commentary, and a kind of a commentary on the commentary called Tika. And a commentary on the Tika is called tippani, a little note. So here is my tippani, is that when we are enjoying this banter back and forth, a few things to keep in mind between Mrityu and Nachiketa, Lord Yama and Nachiketa. Few things just to keep in mind. One, and even Adi Shankara says that in the beginning, yesterday we saw, that to make sure that he is deserving of the knowledge, Mrityu tests Nachiketa. Lord Yama tests Nachiketa. So this whole thing, testing, the concept of testing must not make one testy. Okay? That is my tippani here. And to unfold that or to unpack that, it's not that the teacher has some kind of a vile intention to make the student squirm and to bring out all the things that the student doesn't know and to keep the student in the state of not knowing and say, aha, I know more than you. Or it's not some kind of a one-upmanship or some kind of a delighting in the continued ignorance of the student or shaming the student. That is not what is testing, and it's also not some kind of a Vedantic elitism. Neither is it some kind of a shaming of the student, nor is it an expression of Vedantic elitism. And here is the Vedanta club. Let's see if you pass muster to be for the butler with white gloves to open the door and usher you inside. This is not some kind of a club who's a kind of a, what kind of a club is, what is that word?
Social club?
No, like a highly coveted, that's the word I was looking for, whose entrance is highly coveted by the people, and here is the teacher sitting in the doorway. Much like Lord Yama himself sitting in the gateway between death and another life. Here is the teacher sitting in the doorway and saying, you can come in and you stay out. No. It's tempting to go there. And why is it tempting to go there? Because of the misfiring of what? The subjective synapses in the brain, in the Ragadvesha filled brain. And the Ragadvesha filled Antahkarana goes there because almost everybody in every jiva, that is, has had issues with belonging. In fact, the whole longing is to be longing, not to be longing, to belong. And one tries to belong in the wrong ways. That's why one is left longing instead of understanding that I belong everywhere. And there is no belonging. For the sense of either longing or belonging, you need two things. How many things are there? One. Yourself. So you are the one who is belonging everywhere at all times, no time, no space. So it's tempting to go there because this hits on the core issue called abandonment, neglect, exclusion. I have been left out. People get, very upset, testy about being left out. I have been excluded. I was the last one to know. Why should you know? No, don't worry about that, but I need to know. Because otherwise, it's an expression of not having, not being part of this club. So here is not some kind of Kathopanishad club or Vedanta club. And the teacher really is not trying to test the student to either see if the person can be a new entrant, admission into this club, nor to shame the person. No. Now, what is the nature of this test? This has to be understood before we get into this banter and we can enjoy this. Firstly, there is a injunction. Speaking of injunctions and prohibitions, the Upanishad herself has an injunction. What is that? Ashishyaya adeyam means what? Shishyaya eva deyam. So give it only to the one who qualifies as a shishya, shikshana yogya, worthy of being taught. Ashishyaya, the one who is a ashishya. Who is ashishya? Not a shishya. Adeyam. Deyam means to be given. Adeyam means not to be given to the one who is not a shishya. This is a typical way in which in Sanskrit these negatives are used doubly. So not to be given to the one who is not a shishya, and the negative is enhanced here. 2 times, so that it is incumbent upon the teacher to be able to give or to teach when the person is ready and to the person who is ready. And even if one is not ready, it's okay. The teacher can and will often teach. But we have to make sure that they are not ready to take the knowledge and do something bad with it. That's the whole kind of a thing. Use it for their own purposes. Like I always say that, this gives a Atma Akarta, gives a new kind of a defense for all serial offenders. I didn't do it because Atma is a non-doer. So like this, so there is a certain sanctity in the knowledge because it is very sacred. It's a serious pursuit. And also why should the teacher teach for the Agama Payi student? Agama Payi means gone here today, gone tomorrow, and then drops in several weeks later because something difficult happens in the life, some difficulty, and suddenly remembers everything, drops in. Still the teacher teaches, drops in and then goes. And, so that's still the teacher may teach, but the lack of seriousness on the student's part will not allow the student to benefit from this. And although it is incumbent upon the student to be in a place of the recipient of the knowledge, in other words, be in a teachable place, that is incumbent upon the student. And the student has to make sure that he or she keeps himself or herself in a place where the knowledge can be gained. Still, the final authority of whether or not to teach rests with the teacher. It's not that the student chooses it is true that the student chooses the teacher, but the teacher will say, can say that right now this is not for you, because if supposing somebody has a lot of emotional or mental problems that they need to take care of first. This is a prerequisite. What Vidya will go? Each time they come to class, they are angry with the other students, they are angry with the teacher, they are angry with Bhagavan, they are angry with everyone. Then, then the knowledge is not going in. So then the teacher can say, they may have a lot of mumukshutvam, desire to learn is there, desire to be free is there, but some homework is needed. Go to the cow stables, here is the key. Yeah, it's not that I'm not going to teach you, but right now, that's where you belong. You need to, take the cows out for a walk, Yeah. You need to have the cows in order to not have the cow that you're having right now. So, here is the key to the cow stables. This is what we see. Prajapati, who is Prajapati, the teacher of the Devas, celestial teacher, said that to none other than the king of heaven, Indra, who thought, oh, I'll get it like that, this is nothing for me. Atma, where are you? Here I come. He went like this with full of ego. And even he wasn't qualified, even he was not taught immediately. When was he taught? 33 times 3, 99 years. After 99 years, Buddha he became. Buddha means, old fellow. No, it's celestial time, so it's okay. But years are different. That's why you can say 99 years. And 99 is almost like infinity. It is, what's the word for it? It's a metaphor for, infinity. So that means that the preparation can take several lifetimes. And unprepared, the teacher is not going to do kantha shoshanam. Means, dehydrate one's throat. That's why we have lot of water available. So this is what is the testing. This is part of what's the quote-unquote testing. Ashishyaya adeyam. Why to give the knowledge to someone who is, not ready for it? It's a waste of time. Teacher's time, the student's time. It's also desanctifying the knowledge. If the knowledge is sacred, it is given in a sacred way, it takes a lot of time because it's a sort of consistent exposure. We keep insisting on the consistent exposure. I mean, the knowledge doesn't take time. The assimilation and the living of it and the habitual orientations for them to go, they may take time. Not that they do, they may. So, keeping that in account, there is a commitment on the teacher's part, and the teacher is advised not to make that commitment until the student is ready. So that's why Prajapati, when Indra first asks, where is Atma? He just claps his hand and brings a big cauldron of water. And Indra is there with his newly found friend Virochana, who is the king of the Asuras, the demonic beings. Celestial but demonic. And Prajapati says, gentlemen, you have come a long way to look at the Atma. You want to see the Atma, right? Please look. And they look at their bodies. Oh, look at this. I'm glad I put oil on the biceps before I came. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at these mustaches. Oh, look at this goatee, Virochana says. So handsome I am. So wonderful. This is Atma, so simple, and we came all this way. Oh, thank you. My Atma is very good looking, each of them thought, and went away. Why? In fact, he fooled them because they were not ready, especially Virochana. He did not want to give him. He waited until Virochana went. And so the testing is on this level. The testing also provides, the testing is also a mechanism of making sure that the desire for the knowledge is always the student's responsibility to keep that burning. Otherwise, the teacher gets into, or could get into, a certain kind of a codependent situation, running after the student and quote unquote feeding the student with knowledge, in a very codependent way. And what does that mean? In the sense that you don't give the other person the opportunity to voice their wants, and you fulfill the wants before they voice it. I mean, to a certain extent that may be a compassionate act, but I think on one level it is good for the people to take, the students to take the initiative. The student has to take the initiative and keep wanting the knowledge, and to know that the knowledge, I am in a place of a mumukshu, a jignasu. But that's not enough to articulate that, to make it a social fact. It's not that the teacher wants any student to be on their hands and knees begging for the knowledge all the time, but that's not the idea. But arhaha means the deserving one, that the candidate who is deserving. Deserving means what? The one who keeps the flame of jignyasa alive. The one who keeps the fire of mumukshutvam burning, not secretly in the heart, oh, I'm craving this knowledge but I'm too proud to show it. No. The one who is not, who is able to demonstrate to the teacher that I really want this knowledge, no matter what, I'm ready to do anything for it. So this is not some kind of a reducing the student into a beggar. No. But the student discovers in herself or himself that wanting of the knowledge. And it is important to discover that, because really speaking, we are doing a very beautiful thing here. In the course of this knowledge, all the wants are being compacted. Like in the junkyard, one big car goes through this compactor and comes out like a sandwich, like a size of a small sandwich. Correct? Yeah. And what happened to all the screws, all the roof, the wheel, the muffler, everything is just pachak, finished, compacted. Here too, the gamut of human wants. I want this, I want that, I want to be famous, I want to do this, I want to, become this way, I want to have this, I want to have that, why don't I have this? All the wants are compacted, made into a small little, sachet and expressed as the want for knowledge. That's why this is important, to keep this burning, desire for knowledge alive, because in this fire of the desire for knowledge, all other wants like, moths are drawn in and they sacrifice themselves. So you see why this is more important. It's not that the teacher is reducing the student or trying to see if the student is a begging student. No. The student has to keep the fire of knowledge burning, because this is one way in which all the other wants can be consumed into, because we have to go in stages. You cannot become wantless from wanting, Less said about that, the better. So from wanting Atma, that is as though wanting, to wantless Atma, you need an intermediate stage, and the intermediate stage is a stage that lasts a long time, and until that stage is not gotten over, meaning until that stage does not resolve or drop automatically, I do everything to keep that jignyasa alive. And it is not kept alive without action, because the desire always manifests into action. Even the desire for knowledge manifests into action. And what kind of even though the knowledge is not action, but still there are certain precursor type actions. What are those actions? Making sure that the body comes to class along with the mind, correct? Yeah. Making sure I show up. That is, of course, the most obvious action. Keeping, other things in life, prioritizing this is an action. Because I make a list of the things to do, whether in the day, whether in the year, whether in the month, Vedanta is always on the top. That is an action. I have prioritized this. This is an action. And then, and expressing to the teacher, and this is what we learn from Nachiketa, expressing the constant desire for the teaching in many different ways. As we will see how Nachiketa is doing. This is important not because the ego of the teacher needs to be stoked. That's not the point here. The teacher could care less what the student does or does not do. But these forms of articulation are important to bring the studentship. What is studentship? That the ship that crosses samsara. To bring the studentship to the fore, to the core, this is important. It's just like saying it's somebody's birthday, all right? So you cannot tell it, let's say it's the significant other's birthday. So you cannot say, oh, I remember the date and I have a lot of love in the heart. Is that enough? No. Because if you don't bring a gift and if you don't acknowledge it or mark it, the significant will be crossed out and the significant other will become what?
Other.
Just plain other. Yeah. You will be othering the person. And so therefore, especially if it is your family members, your child, your spouse, whatever it is, somebody who's important to you, you have to actually show that. You have to show that you really care. And that showing has to, that showing takes place in certain actions. You cannot say, I have everything in my heart. In my heart, I have visualized a lovely present. It is sitting right here in the imagination and have wrapped it in the best kind of, what is that? Gift. Yeah, gift paper possible. And there is a bow on top as well. So you as though open it, because we are all Vedantins. So you need to you need to overcome all this. You cannot do that. So you have to actually go and angst, over what to get. Oh, this was done last year. Oh, this was not appreciated the year before. Oh, what can I get? What is this all the time? You have to pull out your hair in clumps, finally get something, be very worried whether they will like it or not. And then in Eugene style, go and buy newspaper to wrap this. Yeah, this is extreme ecology, So, because usually people here, you don't even subscribe to newspaper. But the wrapping paper now becomes newspaper. So you will, pass one vending machine and, put one quarter in and buy the daily newspaper to wrap up the present. And then they will go to some farm and get some hay this is the cloth, straw. It is wrapped in straw, And then they'll stick one dried flower on top, to keep with the theme. Correct? Yeah, but even to wrap thing in newspaper and tie with a straw is not easy. It requires effort. Yeah, nobody here, the shops like, what is that? Some mark, Hallmark. All these, they have no business here. Yeah. If Hallmark tries to open a shop in Eugene, mark my words, they will only be selling newspaper. Yeah, cards will always be cut out from various leftovers at home. If you want to look for a card, don't go to Hallmark in Eugene. What you have to do, look in the dustbin, the recycling. Not the trash, but the recycling thing. Yeah. And if it's already gone out, rush after the van. Say, wait a minute. Birthday is coming, I need that one particular cardboard. And then you cut it out in some shape, any shape, doesn't matter, And then you write some things and use some soya-based ink. And then, and then you draw some things which only you can understand, you doodle. And then you say happy birthday and put it along with this thing. It requires effort. It's not easy to run after the, recycling van. So with all these efforts, then you reverentially, first you make it a surprise because nobody should know until that particular date. And then on that date to add to the suspense, because you've been reading too many Agatha Christie novels. So therefore to add to the suspense, you pretend you forgot. And then they are on their toes. Oh, did they remember or not? And then, you pretend you forgot. You in fact go and bake the cake somewhere else or whatever it is. And then suddenly you put it all together and you say, oh, this was nothing. Oh, how did all these people, where did they come from? Where did this cake come from? Where did this newspaper wrapped gift come from? The other person wonders, the significant other. And then you say, oh, it's just something I put together. Nothing big. And they are very happy. Not because it is their birthday, not even because you remembered, but you took the effort to make sure that the love and the caring and the desire for them to be in your life was manifest in the form of a series of action leading up to that D-Day, that important day. Likewise, and in this, what have you protected? What have you enacted? What have you demonstrated? You have demonstrated your love and desire for that person to be in your life, correct? Yeah, it's not about the newspaper or the gift or the card or anything. It's the effort and the thought and the enactment. So too in the studentship, this is how it is. You make the effort. You take the time and make the effort to show that you care. Not about the teacher, about the knowledge. I told you the teacher is dragged along as a package deal. The centrality of the teacher only is happenstance because the knowledge cannot be gained through books. If you read this, what will happen? Nothing. Assured. Nothing will happen. So therefore, to keep oneself in a place of learning and to demonstrate to oneself that one cares, and also to demonstrate to the teacher that one continues to care, you have to make this effort. Because when you enact something, it becomes what the sociologist Durkheim called it a social fact. It becomes a social fact, meaning you cannot be in denial about how much you really want this knowledge, because people usually are. You cannot be in denial about how much you really want this freedom from samsara, because it's very easy to get to that place. Because other priorities take over. And ragadveshas take over. Oh, I have listened for so long. What happened? Despair takes over. Hopelessness takes over. Lack of shraddha comes and sneaks over. Yeah, doesn't take over, sneaks over. It's a sneak takeover. And what are you going to do? So therefore, to keep this alive, we have to always be in the right relationship with the teacher, with the teaching, with the text, and you keep demonstrating through, and that's why seva becomes very central here. You keep demonstrating the desire for the knowledge by putting yourself in the right place. This is to help the student here. And Nachiketa does this very beautifully, and we'll see how he does that. So the testing on the teacher's part is just to see whether there is continued interest. If there is not, then the teacher doesn't have the pressure to teach. The teaching stops. Yes. So that is basically, the teaching peters out, really. It's in fact, the teacher doesn't even have to decide, should I teach or not teach. It just doesn't happen. It stops. So we don't want that. And as students, we don't want that. And so it is incumbent upon the student to not only to stoke the fires and keep fueling the desire for knowledge, but to demonstrate how brightly it is burning in the heart through actions that are conducive to this demonstration. So with this introduction, we can look at the mantras. Did we see 21?
Just the introduction.
Yeah. So, kim ayam ekantatah nishreyasa sadhana atmajnana arhah nava etat parikshanartham aha. So, this is the pariksha. Pariksha means looking carefully all around, inspection. So Yama is inspecting Nachiketa's jignasa. Kim ayam, what indeed is this fellow? Is this fellow completely desiring of this knowledge? Ekantatah means completely, fully desirous of this knowledge. Nishreyasa sadhanam. What is Nishreyasa sadhanam? The means for moksha. And what is that? Atmajnanam that knowledge of Atma, which is the means for moksha, arhaha, is he deserving or not, nava or not, etat parikshanartham, to check up this. Death says, what does, Bhagavan Death says, devairatrapi vichikitsam pura.
Devairatrapi vichikitsam pura.
Nahi sugnyeyamanuresha dharmaha.
Nahi sugnyeyamanuresha dharmaha.
Anyam varam nachiketo vrinishva.
Anyam varam nachiketo vrinishva.
Mamo parotsirati masrijainam.
Mamo parotsirati masrijainam.
Devaihi api, by the celestials also, vichikitsitam pura, was indeed inquired into earlier, purve. Earlier means what? In time, some other celestial time. Means what? Even the gods inquired into this Atma. Celestials, gods here, not many gods. Celestials, devatas, inquired into this Atma, and it trails off. It doesn't say whether they found it or not, but we have to go through the other Upanishads and see that they also had to undergo the same kinds of things, same kind of what? Studentship, discovering that within themselves. They had to undergo to understand this. It's not that the celestial laws are different. If you are ignorant here, you have to go through Viveka, Vairagya, all this. And if you are ignorant there, in any other loka, you have to go through the same things. Yad yatha atra tat tatha amutra. As the laws unfold here, so too the laws of ignorance, knowledge, etc. unfold elsewhere. And so therefore, it trails off. It doesn't say if they found it or not, but it shows that this is a very special topic for even the celestials to have inquired into. More about that later. Nahi sugnyeyam anuhu eshaha dharmaha. This is not sugnyeyam, easy to understand. Suvigneyam. Gneyam, that which is to be known. Sugnyeyam, that which is easily known. Suvigneyam, that which is very easily known. Na suvigneyam, that which is not at all easily known. Why? Anu, anutvat. Anu means what? Yeah. Small, subtle, small. No, anu literally means small. Atomic in nature, but Atma is not an atom. Yeah, even though the spelling is similar. Instead of an A, you put an O in between. Atma is not atom. Atom is Atma. Every atom is Atma. Atma is not an atom. This is what is Nasuvigneya. This is not easy to understand. Why is this not easy to understand? Because Anuhu. There is a one-sided situation. Anu means small, tiny. And here it doesn't mean small. It means subtle. Yeah. Anutvat nasuvigneya durvigneya ityarthaha. It is difficult to grasp how every atom is Atma, but Atma is not any atom. What? Atom is Atma. That I can understand. Every atom is Atma, okay. But Atma is not atom. Oh, then what is it? Everything is it, but it is not any one thing. It is you. Yeah, but what am I? You see, that is why it is called Nasuvigneya. Because there is a subtle aspect to it. Pot is clay, but clay is not pot. Clay transcends pot. Atma transcends every atom. So this is what is called difficult to understand. Anuhu and dharmaha. Dharmaha means this attributeless Atma has attributes, quote unquote, that are very subtle and difficult to understand, because you have to have some quote unquote attributes or words that describe some description. Dharmaha here doesn't mean attributes. Although literally it means attributes, here it means certain description, lakshana. So the descriptions are very subtle. Even though the regular words are used, they are used in a special way in order to knock off the limitations and convey the truth about oneself, which is already self-revealing. So it joins the I notion. So this is a very complicated way of, the pedagogy is complicated, the knowledge is not. The pedagogy is well thought out, very, very intricate pedagogy. And so therefore what? Anuhu esha dharmaha. So this is the words that describe its description is extremely subtle. So therefore, meaning this is not for you. Why? Because you yourself are like an anu, you are small. And who are you to inquire into this when the devas have inquired and perhaps not succeeded? Who are you? You are as tall as a small jalapeno chili pepper. You are a tiny fellow. And this is not also the time for you to understand. Perhaps, if you are grown and, what not. But here you are, you've not even experienced life. And, of course, we know that for the samsari, everything is about experience. And now he's going to give an overdose of experiences. So, you haven't even experienced anything. You're a small little fellow. And how can you know that this is what you want? Because parikshya lokan karma chitan. Having experienced everything, then you come to the conclusion that nothing works. Correct? Yeah. That everything is a broken, that samsara is full of broken elements. And everything is fallible. Only after a few lifetimes of experiencing samsara, then you say, okay, this road is a dead end. The other road, oh, that's a detour. The third one, oh, it's not even a road, it just looks like one. And the fourth one, oh, it just made me go, it's not a road, it's a maze. It made me get lost. The fifth one, it's full of stampeding wild animals, leads to the forest. Sixth one, another dead end. Seventh one, it leads to a precipice from which it's easy to leap, leap of hopelessness. And so this is how all the false roads having encountered, then only the jignasa for the true road which leads to oneself arises in the heart because of the mumukshu, because you have to first experience all the falseness, all the false leads, the false scent of moksha. And what, it just goes, trails off into the sunset. Nothing is giving nothing is giving result. Only after having examined the various fields of experience, one comes to this conclusion. And here, how old are you? You are 8. What could you have experienced other than some toys? And here you are saying, asti iti eke, nasti iti chaike. What am I saying? I am quoting the last mantra. Some people say asti, it is there. Some people say na asti, not there. So therefore what is the truth? Only you can tell me. Come on, this is not your subject matter. Just find out if the latest edition of the toy or the video game that was recently released, Asti Nava, that you find out. That I can understand. Is it stocked in the shop or not? Is it Asti or Nasti? That I can understand. Limited release, they do all this big, hoo-ha, because they want you to buy so they can raise the price and all these things. So that you say Asti, Nasti, okay, fine. Your favorite baseball card, Asti Nava, and ask. I can tell you that. But not this. This is not your age. Even the celestials, meaning, how do you become a celestial? After a lot of punya. So even those people who had many lifetimes of punya, it is the subject matter for them to inquire. And perhaps they also did not get it. And you little fellow, what do you know about this? You don't know anything. So therefore what? He says that nahi sugnyayam, this is not for you. Anyamvaram, another boon, Nachiketa, O Nachiketa, anyam varam vrinishva. Please choose another boon. Ma uparotsihi mam atisrija enam. You know, this is how to look at it. So one, the first ma is mam. Yeah. Mam is me. The second ma is don't. Uparotsihi means pressure me. Atisrija means leave me alone. And the second ma is also me. That me, leave me alone. So do you understand how many ma's are there here? 3 ma's. Okay? So first ma means what? Me. Last ma means what? Me. Middle ma means don't. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So don't press me. Like a oil seller presses the seed to squeeze out the last drop of the oil. Because he is conjuice. He doesn't want to waste anything. So the oil seller presses the seed. And how does the oil seller press the seed? Keeps on pressing. And it's almost that the seed can say, leave me alone, enough already. Feed me to the cow. I cannot handle this anymore because the husk of the oil seeds are fed to the cow. I can't handle this, leave me alone. So, mama uparotsihi. And this ati is a upasarga. Ati means what? Yeah, not excess. Ati means to overcome, kind of. And srija means let go. Yeah, let me go already. Don't press me about this. Because already he's feeling pressed because he has to give 3 boons and this. Who asked you to spend 3 nights while I was away? Did you ask my permission? No. And you were sitting in the Italian marble fountain garden and then you were doing this. Why were you doing this? You didn't take my permission. And here I am and Yami is cross and now I have to give you 3 boons to please Yami and to ward off any papa that I may have incurred in my absence. I didn't ask for this. And then here I am being very nice and giving you boons. Stay within the limits. Don't ask for all these esoteric things. This is not your time. This is not your age. This is not your subject matter. Anyam varam vrinishva. And don't keep pressing me about it. Already I feel indebted. Don't press me about this further. So did we cover all the words? Yes. Okay. So, Bhashya. Devaihi api. Something is wrong here. Devaihi api. There should be a double I, but there's only one A here. Atretat, no, atraitat it should be. Is there a double I on your?
Devai has a double I.
No, devaihi api atra etat atraitat it should be. I have only a single A, that's why I was here. Devaihi api atra etat asmin vastuni vichikitsitam sanshayitam pura purvam. Yeah, we'll stop there. So, devaihi api, even by the celestials, atra means in this context, asmin vastuni, with regard to this thing that you are asking for, this atma tattvam, vichikitsitam, sanshayitam means was the doubt about this was entertained even by the celestials. Pura means purvam. At some point in time, even the celestials had this desire to know the Atma. And here I have to give another tippani. And what is that? Celestials means what? How do you become a celestial? Too much punya. And correct. And the punya, the best way for the punya to fructify is to what? Flower. No, yajna is the because of which the punya has fructified. But the best way for the punya to come out is to direct it through the desire, to channel it through the desire for self-knowledge. Punya means what? Comfortable situations in the here or hereafter. Let's take here. Punya gives because who cares about hereafter? So comfortable situations right here I can get, And this is a very nice formula. And this is how the Devas started to think about the Atma. Because one can get a nice situation because of punya, correct? Punya removes vignas to gain desires. If all your desires, like the car, is compacted, the junkyard of desire is compacted into a small little, piece, sachet. What? I want this knowledge. So, what are you doing? Your own karma from previous lives, you're tapping the punya and directing it through this aqueduct of this desire for the knowledge, instead of dissipating it everywhere. Yeah, this is Pujya Swamiji at his best. This is how he talks about it. That don't think that, punya comes, punya goes. If punya is not there, I cannot attend Vedanta class. Today punya is there, so therefore I am in class. Rubbish. Yeah. If you want this knowledge, because punya means what? It makes you have a comfortable life or a comfortable situation vis-a-vis your desires. Meaning, when there is, punya prachurya, predominance of punya, then the vignas are few and it is easy to get things done. It's easy to go out and fulfill the desires. This is the time you have to hone in on the desire. Instead of going out and fulfilling it, go in and fulfill it. And the same punya, it's like damming the river so that all the water does not just waste away downstream. It is there for fishing, farming, all these things that people want to do right there. So this is how this whole welling up punya, what you do is you direct it by desiring only the knowledge, predominantly the knowledge, so that all the path becomes clear, swept off. Yeah. And it reminds me of the story of Shabari. Shabari was as a young girl, she went to the ashrama and stayed there as a sannyasi in the Sage Matanga's ashram. She stayed there at a young age. She didn't want anything to do with this life, so she just joined the ashram and stayed there as a sannyasi. And before the sage, the teacher, passed away, he said that I could not have darshan of Lord Rama, but I know, I can see through my vision that he is going to come to the ashram. Be prepared. So what did she do? She emailed rama@ayodhya.org. Can you please let me know when you are coming? No. She SMS'd Sita's mobile. No. In those days, no email, no SMS, nothing. So what she did every single day, got up, took a bath and swept the entire ashram, cleaned up each and everything so that it was shining, because the Lord may come right now, today. And he didn't come. Disappointed, she would go to bed, only to spring up the next morning and clean the entire ashram, sweep everything. Everything was spick and span. And she did this every single day, and she didn't even know it when she was walking with a cane and sweeping the ashram. She became an old lady. But the day Lord Rama came, she was ready. Yeah, he came to take some rest. He was on the way. He came. She was ready. Everything was spick, span, shining. Her whole life was to invite Bhagavan into her ashrama. This is all metaphoric, into her heart. This is all. The antakarna has to be swept clean, similarly, of all the desires, so that the punya flows in the form of the teaching always. Yeah. What an easy thing it is. So this is what this is what differentiates human beings from the devatas, because the devatas have punya vishesha, so it's easy for them to channel it wherever they want it to. And also they don't have core issues. That's why they can desire this knowledge easily, because as long as devatas, they are devatas. They have a devata body. That means that they will not bear grudges. That will not, they will not be having ragadveshas. They will not be spending all the time cooking and eating, you know. Because paroksha priya, you can sniff the food and just be satisfied. So that is why he says, Devaihi api. Why these exalted celestials who have so much punya. And don't feel bad that I don't have much punya. Even if you have a trickle of punya, you can direct it towards this. And nobody knows how much there is. So better start directing it right now, properly. Yeah. Keep wanting this knowledge. Be in the place of wanting this knowledge, so that all the obstructions just recede, they collapse, they really do. They do. So, oh, somebody doesn't want me to go to class, they will stop caring. Yeah. You know, oh, I think, you know, this is too many obstacles, too many body pain, body ache. Either you will stop caring or the bodies will, you know, stop aching. This is how it is. Everything stops. Because this is what is Parama Purushartha. This is why you were made. This is Swadharma. This is the main Swadharma. Because all other Swadharma, mothering, fathering, you know, lecturing, whatever Swadharma you may have, they are secondary. The first and only Swadharma is to overcome self-ignorance. That is everyone's Swadharma. That's why this human body has been given. And the promise is that if you are going with the flow will go with you. That is the flow. And that is what is the promise. And so when you do what you are supposed to do, all the punya, the gates of punya which were barricaded are lifted, and the punya gushes forth in your life to take you to the realms of self-knowledge. This is what the whole promise is. That's why it is, he mentions Devaihi api. You know, who is talking now? Yama. He says, Devaihi api vichikitsitam. This was inquired into by the Devas, because they have punya vishesha, which Allah, and they have the inner space to inquire into this. It's a little easier if one is a Deva, but it's very difficult to become a Deva. So right now, just make use of the few trickles of punya and learn this right now here. And so, and also don't forget that the punya is keeping on getting refilled. How? I'm not doing any good thing because all the time I'm in class. That's enough. Why? Because attending Vedanta class refills, recharges the punya. It's like being plugged in. Yes. So every day, so how many classes we are having? 4 classes. Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You are getting so much punya just by sitting. Yeah. Just by sitting. This is fantastic, isn't it? Free punya. Just come to class. Yeah. Then you can do whatever you want with it. So, that's why he says, Devaihi api vichikitsitam pura. Vichikitsitam he defines as sanshayitam, was doubted about, was inquired into. Nahi sugneyam, sushtugneyam, shrutamapi, prakrita janaihi, yataha, anuhu, sukshmaha, eshaha atmakhyah, dharmaha, atah anyam asandigdha phalam varam Nachiketa vrinishva. Yeah, stop there. So, nahi sugnyayam, sushtugnayam, not easily understood. Why? Because the teacher will not teach? No, even after the teacher teaches, it is not easily understood. Shrutamapi means even after putting oneself, dragging oneself to class, and then sitting in front of the teacher, and doing Shravanam, listening to the whole class, even after having listened, Shrutamapi, na Vijnayam. Nothing goes in. Why? Anutvat, Anuhu. Why? Why it doesn't go in? For two reasons Adi Shankara gives. One, Shruti gives. He explains that because it is, this Atmakhya, that which is called Atma. Akhya means called. Sukshmaha Eshaha. Anuhu is described as Sukshmaha, as we saw already. Sukshmaha, it is very subtle. Ataha, therefore, no, before that, it is first reason why it is not understood, it is very subtle. Second reason is because of the person who is trying to understand it. Who is this person? Prakrita Janaha. Who are these people? Prakrita Janaha. Prakritehe iyam prakritam, or Prakritehe bhavam prakritam. That's even better. So Prakritehe bhavam means born of nature. Prakrita. What does born of nature means? Wild. Yeah. Undomesticated. Untamed. Like that Romulus and Remus. Who were they? Huh?
People.
Yeah, raised by the wolf. Yeah. They drank wolf milk when they were babies. And the wolf showed them how to live. And wolf manners are very different from human mannerisms. So they became wild, correct? They might have founded Rome. I don't know how they did that. But they were not fit for civilization. They were not civilized. Prakrita means uncivilized people. Adi Shankara loves this term. Prakrita Janaha. Prakrita Buddhayaha means whose buddhis are like a wild jungle. Jangli Buddhi Ityartha. There was one song, an old song. What was that? With that jumping fellow? Chahe koi mujhe jangli kahe. Let anyone think of me as a jangli. Yeah. Jangalaha asya asti iti janglin. So jangli, is the first nominative case. We are just using the Sanskrit endings, ini, for Hindi words. Jangli means one who is just emerged out of the jungle. And this was supposed to be the hero in this old Hindi film. And he jumps around like a monkey, screams like a donkey. And, and then he says, I don't care if the whole world calls me a Prakrita Buddhi. This is who I am. Take me or leave me. And all the women drool over him. Crazy. This is the plot of the story. I haven't seen it, but I know this song. So anyhow, this is how the whole thing is. Prakrita Buddhi means freshly out of the forest. Which forest? Forest of unkempt ragadveshas. This is the forest. Like supposing, they have tried this. They had 2-3 people they have discovered, not exactly forest babies or wolf babies, but close. Like one female child, one girl child got lost at 3 or 4, maybe 5, we don't know, some young age. She got lost. Not in Kumbh Mela, that's the favorite place in India to get lost. But she got lost in some, picnic in the West, in some European country. England, yes. She got lost in the woods. The family went for a picnic and were forced to come back without her. They mounted a big search. Nowhere to be found. 10 years gone. So in her late teens, she was 15 or 16 when they found, and then they, and she scratched the people who found her, beat up another set of people. She had to become cuffed in chains and brought, and they finally took the DNA and found out it was that same little girl. I think the parents had died by that time, so whoever the relatives were, they thought, let's do a good turn and, bring this child back, this girl back into rehabilitation. Any clothes that you put on her would be chewed up in 15 minutes or less. The teeth were so sharp, and anybody who came into the room was happily bitten, and she would just have these horrible sounds which were made by wild animals, not human sounds. It's impossible for the human throat to make these sounds. And they kept her in the laboratory and taught her all the things that you have to teach, how to drink out of the cup and not, like the dog, how it drinks directly out of the bowl. Know how to use the hands. All these things they had to teach her. To a certain extent, and to a certain extent alone, she was teachable. But they found that, the moment, like every day they would have classes, but they couldn't give her Sunday off, because Sunday, when she did not have the lessons of how to pick up the hand and eat, forget fork and spoon, we are not even going there, even to eat from the hand, she would forget, and the lessons would have to begin right from scratch. This is how it was. She was unable to come back to the society. And also she got very depressed because she was used to just being in the wild. And she died, and they tried to give her antidepressants which she would spit out. There was a whole study about that. I don't remember the name or the circumstances. This was done in the 80s. And they have done studies like this with semi-wild people. And they have found that it is impossible to quote-unquote rehabilitate them or civilize them, which gives the idea that the early childhood socialization is so important. Because if you learn it at that time, otherwise you don't learn it at all. If that is interrupted, like this childhoods of these individuals were, you never learn it. If you haven't learned it then, because at 3 and 4 it's still too soon to internalize all this. And so Prakrita Buddhi is someone who has been brought out from the wild. And where is someone who has freshly emerged from the forest of unkempt ragadveshas, metaphorically speaking. And like that wild girl, has no mannerisms, does not care about other egos, does not feel shame, does not feel fear. Fear means not like you have to be covering in fear, but more in the sense of what will people think. There is a certain thing, What will people think if I chew up all the clothes? Everybody else is wearing clothes. There's no sense of self-consciousness is not there. Self-awareness is not there. So just like nature made Prakrita Buddhi, everybody is born with a teeming million infestation of ragadveshas. But then the socialization takes care of it, some of them. In the sense, not that they are completely gone, but one learns to keep them in abeyance. One has the urge to eat whatever is in sight, but a meeting is going on. So one is socialized, you cannot eat, In school, children don't know. Some children cannot wait till lunchtime to finish off the lunch box. So in kindergarten, they allow it. Okay, fine, you come to school, immediately they take out the lunch and start to eat because they are still too young. But in first grade, they will take away the lunch boxes, put their names on them and put it somewhere else so that temptation is not there. That this is called Samskrita Buddhi. The Buddhi is learning that there are times to eat, there are times to drink, there are times to sleep, there are times to want things, there are certain ways of gaining the wants. Like asking. Like if you really like something and you would like to play with the other child's toy, you have to ask and you have to say, please, you can't just grab. A 1-year-old will grab because it's all mine. Who are you? This is Prakrita Buddhi. But by the time it is 5 years old, Samskrita Buddhi has come and it says, can I? May I? And then if you don't give, I'll beat you up. That's still because a little more Sanskritization is needed here. So this is the difference between Prakrita Buddhi and Samskrita Buddhi. So Prakrita Janaha means people who have never really, other than the minimal socialization they might have received, they have not had the chance to interrogate their Buddhi. The Ragadvesha forest continues to grow. And sometimes, the parents are overindulgent, especially the contemporary parents, because both of them have to work. So they feel in disciplining the child, they feel guilty. So they let the child have whatever it wants, whenever it wants, as a way of overcoming their own guilt. That's not correct. The child has to learn boundaries and to keep the ragadveshas not to have instant gratification to delayed gratification. This is what even the current psychology, even in the West, which is the bhoga bhumi of instant gratification, even here the psychologists and the teachers of children are saying delayed gratification is the key to a well-adjusted adulthood. Even if they scream, cry and jump on your head, don't give them everything that they want. This is the time to train them, delay it. And this is basically, so the prakrita janaha are people who have not had the valuable lesson of delayed gratification in early childhood. For whatever reason they missed out. Either they were not ready or they did not get it. And so they grew up wild, without interrogating the raga-dveshas, and grew completely, with undomesticated ragas and dveshas, and with the steaming forest of raga-dveshas in the head. And then you hear about Tattvamasi, you hear about studentship, you hear about teaching. What will go in? Nothing. Because the raga-dvesha is a big thicket. That's why it says anu, sukshma. So you need a sukshma buddhi, not a prakrita buddhi. A sukshma buddhi is that where there is space, like Shabari's ashrama, which was swept every day clean. It is a metaphor, an allegory for one's antahkarana. The antahkarana is swept clean of all the dead leaves and the twigs and the fallout of the ragadveshas, and the guilt and the hurt and the shame and the blame is all swept clean and is kept ready for the Lord to enter, nay, for that Ishvara to be discovered as the truth of yourself, because really there is no entry, the Lord has already entered. So therefore, prakrita janaihi shrutamapi na suvijneyam is not properly comprehensible. It's not comprehensible, it's incomprehensible. Because if it's a prakrita buddhi, first of all, they will not be able to stay in the class. If they stay, they will fall asleep. If they are awake, then they will have some other ideas of what was said than what was actually said, So then what? So therefore, ataha anyam asandigdha phalam varam nachiketaha vrinishva. So therefore choose another boon, and the boon is varam, is qualified by a beautiful word by Adi Shankara, asandigdham phalam na sandigdham, from dih, san plus dih, to doubt, to have this doubt. Na sandigdham, have a doubtless, a straightforward boon. Come on, don't say is it this, is it that, full of this kotik dvayam, this vikalpa, these two groups. Is it there, is it not there, what is the Atma, does it survive death, is it, what is its nature? All this is fraught with doubt. That's why it is not understood, because the doubts reign in the mind more than the answer that is given. The doubts are not dispelled by the answer because they have the force of conviction. That is why it's a prakrita buddhi which takes the doubts to be real. So therefore what? In case you are a prakrita buddhi, it is not said that. That's my job to test you or not. So ask for something asandigdham, straightforward. That which can be said yes or no answer. Just asandigdham. And looks like you are a little addled and you don't know what to ask for. He says, here, let me give you some examples. He'll give later some examples of what to ask for. But ask for something straightforward, like long life, lot of money, lot of wives. Ask for things like that, that's easily given. Don't ask for these, esoteric, is it there, is it not there, what is the nature of the Atma, all this. Because even after you hear it, it is very difficult to understand. You are going down a very difficult road. Mamam uparotsihi uparodham makarshihi adhamarnam iva uttamarnaha. Yeah. So ma, the first ma is what? Me. Second ma is don't. don't uparodsihi. Uparodsihi means do not press me. Uparodsihi, do not press me. Uparodham, upa plus rudh, do not press me. Meaning you're really sitting on top of me. Upa, samipe. You are breathing down my neck to extract your bone and asking for these impossible things, near impossible things. And then don't do this. Don't breathe down my neck and don't press me. Ma karshi, uparodham ma karshihi. Don't do this to me. Don't, press on me. How? Adhamarnam. Adhamarnam iva uttamarnaha. Yeah. Adhamarna. Adhama plus rinam. Adhamarnam. Sandhi. Rinam means debt. Adha means below. What is below debt? The one who is a debtor. Debtor means who? The one who borrows. Is called adhamarnaha. And by contrast, uttamarnaha means the one who is a creditor. Meaning the debt collector. The one who is owed. Is that called creditor? The one who owes, who is owed money is a creditor. And the one who is, who has to give the money is a debtor. So, adhamarnaha, debtor. Uttamarnaha, creditor. Uttama plus rinam, uttamarnam, sandhi. Because when like maha plus rishihi, maharshihi, that same the r becomes ar. Now, through the sandhi. Uttamarnam, uttamam, rinam, uttama rinam, uttamarnam, adhama rinam, adhamarnam. There is even a sutra there, 1435 in the Karakas. Dharehe uttamarnaha. So, if you are using the verb dhari, dharaya, to owe, if you are using the word dhru to owe, in the sense of owing, 10th conjugation, dhari, dharaya. So, dharayati means if it is owed, that to whom the money is owed goes in the fourth case, sampradhanam. Devadattaya shatam dharayati. Unto Devadatta 100 rupees are owed. So that unto, and that when in the sense of a creditor, always takes the fourth case in relation to what is owed. That is just a small sutra. So the word uttamarnam also comes in Panini. Uttamarnaha, creditor, adhamarnaha, debtor. So in this conversation, who is uttamarnaha and who is adhamarnaha? Nachiketa is uttamarnaha. Don't say Yama is, because unto whom it is owed. And who owes? Yama owes. Yama is adhamarnaha. Now what does this uttamarnaha do for a living? The uttamarnaha goes and puts a tent in front of the adhamarna's house and checks over his spending habits. Hey, you have money to go here. You don't have money to give me that money. And checks all the checks that come into the mailbox. The debt collector is never leaving the door. So like the debt collector, and the debt collector will phone you at odd times of the day. In Washington DC, the ashram number belonged to someone who had a bad credit record. And 100 times these debt collectors, first they would pretend to be a friend. Oh, hi, is such and such at the home, at home? And I would say, I knew this number belonged to that person. So I would say, no, that person doesn't live here. I don't know whose number it is. This is our number now. I would say, are you sure they're not at home? Tell them Sue called. Who is Sue? And then the Sue is the one wanting to sue. That's why. And then 5-6 times a day, changing the voice, pretending to be pleasant and then being really upset. and saying, we are parked at your door. All this they would tell me. We are parked at your door and we are coming in. The police have been informed. You owe $75,000. You have not given. Along with interest, it is now 175. Compound interest. They were just screaming into the phone. So this is how Yama is experiencing Nachiketa at his back, pressing him, calling him, tricking him into coughing up the secrets of the Atma. He says, I know I am a debtor. Yami has made it very clear. Don't press me. Ask for something straightforward. Come on, let's get it over with. This is the third boon. After all, the first two are discharged. Phew, now the last one is left. Let's get it over with. That's what he says. Anyway, so this is what now you know two words, Uttamarnaha and Adhamarnaha. And then Atisrija, Vimuncha, Enam Varam, Mamam Prati. Atisrija means let me go now. Vimuncha, free me totally from enam varam, from this particular boon. Mam, me. Mam prati means unto me, towards me. With regards to myself, free me from this horrible, desire that you have, this stupid boon that you're asking, these complicated things which even the celestials don't understand. Why should I teach you this? Free me from this. Ask for something, simple and uncomplicated. Asandigdham also means uncomplicated. Ask for something uncomplicated, And then Nachiketa has this speech has the opposite effect on Nachiketa. He was kind of, just listening relaxedly like this. And then he sits up. Even the celestials wanted it. Oh, I want it too. That we will see after the break. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Done.